It's rare that you have a use for an anvil that doesn't have a stand. So I need to build a stand for this anvil from Texas Farrier Supplies and get it up where I can actually work on it. Now for this stand, I want to make a fabricated three-legged stand so it's really stable on an uneven floor or a dirt surface, wherever you need to use it. And it's a little bit more portable than a lot of other stands. In an ideal world, I'd use square rectangular tubing. I don't have anything the right size on hand, but I do have some heavy wall, large diameter pipe, and my plan is to use that for the legs. Now because these legs splay, they need beveled cuts on the end, and getting beveled legs to line up on round tubing is a little bit more difficult than doing it in square rectangular tubing. So I'm putting a reference line down the side of this, so I've got something I can use to help with that lineup. Unfortunately, this is galvanized pipe. Galvanized material is not safe to weld on. It's really toxic, and it needs to come off. So I'm going to soak this in an acid bath and strip that galvanizing off. Of course, this is an acid bath I've been using for ages. It has gotten really weak. And after 4 days of soaking, it has not completely stripped the galvanizing off the first end of the legs, and I still need to turn them around and do the other end. So it's off to a nearby scrapyard and see if they have something I can use. This is Salt Creek Steel in Pueblo, Colorado, and they've got a pretty good assortment of stuff if you're willing to scrounge around and look for it. We got lucky. That's exactly what I was hoping to find. This then is a completely functional little anvil stand. You just have to figure out a way to secure the anvil to the stand so you don't knock it off on your feet. It's just right at knuckle height. Personally, I think this is too low, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit before the end of the video. And I think we can do more to this stand, make it a lot better. At the very least, I want to put some feet on the bottom of the leg so that I'm not driving the hollow tube into the ground, making the stand shorter and shorter over time. And some feet will help to keep the stand more stable. I also think I want to put a few little accessories. I don't want to get carried away on this stand. I want it to stay portable, but I think a little hammer rack across the front that can hold hammers or other top tools, maybe a pair of tongs or two, whatever you want to put in it, and a place for some hardy tools on the side. And I thought I would take one of the cutoffs of the tubing that has the correct angle already cut on it, weld it in here, and put a little shelf on there. And that gives me a place I can set a wire brush or lay a pair of tongs or chisel I'm working with, whatever, just going to make the whole thing a little bit more functional. Now, I'm not going to do the feet yet. There's something else we need to do before I get to that point, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But I am going to go ahead and weld the tool rack on, the shelf, all that kind of stuff, and get all that accomplished before I go any further. As far as mounting the anvil, if you need to drill holes in the plate, I have a mag drill. It's easy for me to drill these holes after it's assembled. If you don't have a mag drill and you're using a drill press, think ahead, drill any mounting holes before you do the welding. Be a lot easier to get under your drill press. If you have to do it with a hand drill, it might be just as easy to wait like I did. Now that is a much more functional anvil stand. We've got some tool storage on here, and I put some little angle irons around the base of the anvil in hopes that that would keep it from sliding off if you don't secure the anvil. Personally, I'm going to bolt the anvil down because I think it needs to be secured, but I realize that a lot of people need an anvil that they can take off the stand and move the anvil and the stand separate because they're too heavy together. And sometimes you got to make concessions. Now we still have a few more things to do, but we can see if this is going to be functional the way it is. We got a place for some Hardy tools. All 1-inch shank. I'd made this specific to this anvil with a 1-inch Hardy hole. Got a place we can put some hammers. And if you need to hang tongs, you can put tongs in there. For that matter, you can even put tongs over here on the Hardy side. Plus a place to set my wire brush. So this is going to be a good functional anvil stand. I thought about putting some sort of bracing between the legs about halfway down. And I think maybe if this was a heavier anvil and I was going to have a striker a lot, I might do that just to make the stand more solid and more stable. But I really don't think for a 100-pound anvil in a one-person shop that it's absolutely necessary. If it makes you feel better, by all means go ahead. You can even use a big piece of square plate that fits in between those legs so that you've got another shelf to put tools on. So the next thing I want to do to this stand is something that a lot of people do, and that is turn it upside down and fill the legs with dry sand. Make sure it's dry sand so you're not causing a rust issue inside your legs. And for that, I'll just go to the home center and buy a bag of playground sand. And this is going to do two things. It's going to make the stand a lot heavier, so it's a more solid stand, more substantial, and it's going to help deaden the ring of the anvil sitting on the stand. That one's got pretty good ring at the moment. Again, if you need your anvil to be really portable, you might not want to do that. You might want to just go ahead and put feet on it, but I would definitely put the feet on after you put the sand in. I had some thin rubber matting that I cut for this, and that should help quiet it down a little bit to put that between the anvil and the base. To hold this down, I welded some nuts to the base into a piece of angle iron that I'll use as a clamp bar. The nuts on the base are still threaded. The other ones I drilled the hole out so I can put a 1/2-inch bolt all the way through. Well, here is a completely functional anvil stand. The advantage to the three-legged stand is that it's stable even on uneven ground. 3 legs are always more stable than 4, unless the 4 are all on a good flat piece of ground or floor or whatever. The disadvantage to the 3-legged stand is it's probably slightly more complicated to build. Not that much, so it's probably worth doing. And we'll look at a 4-legged fabricated stand and talk about the advantages of that in a future video. And we have another anvil that needs a stand. But this is good and stable. It's just a hair below knuckle height, and I think I might want a little higher. Now, what do I do about that? Do I have to build another stand? No, that's one advantage to making it a little bit short to start with. It's easy to bring up either by putting another piece of plate on top of this stand, or even a piece of 3/4-inch plywood, or 1 by something and that can bring it up the amount you want. If you build the stand too tall and you wish it was shorter, you got a dirt floor, I guess you could dig some little holes for the feet to go in. But if you got a concrete floor or something, you're gonna have to cut it apart, cut the leg short, and then re-weld the feet on there. And that sounds like a real pain compared to just shimmying it up a little bit. But I will work with it like this and see how I like it. Now, I was gonna paint the stand, but putting the oil on the legs, I dribbled too much oil down the outside of the legs. I was gonna have to degrease the whole thing. So instead, I just took the oily rag I used to clean it up, wiped the whole thing down with oil. Gives it a nice plum brown look, and it really isn't that bad. I don't think it has to have paint on it, especially not in our drier climate here. If you live someplace where it's really humid, paint might be necessary. As far as the oil goes, I didn't get that much oil to soak into the sand, so I probably wouldn't do it again. And if I did, I'd put oil in little increments, some sand, some oil, some sand, some oil. But I'm not sure if the oil does that much for this. This is a good quiet anvil the way it is, so maybe the oil helps. But that's not going to drive you nuts to work around. Plenty of tool storage, so it's a good functional stand, and it can be portable. Although the 110-pound anvil on a stand that weighed 54 pounds before the sand and 76 pounds after putting the sand in it makes this 186 pounds, and it's not something I would want to lift and put in the back of a truck. So I would take the anvil off of this and move the two separate. If you're going to do that, you might want to find something a little bit more convenient than the bolts, unless you're moving it and leaving it in place for a longer period of time. But if this is something you just need somewhere for an hour, 2 hours, using a wrench to get the bolts in and out might be kind of a pain. Maybe you want something with a big T-handle on it, or maybe some other fastening thing. There are probably lots of options I didn't think of for something like this. How would you secure this down to the base? Would you use bolts, clamps, some other method? Or would you just let it sit there and be a little bit tippy and rocky, which for a lot of things probably doesn't hurt too much? If you want to see the review of this anvil after I've had a chance to work on it a little bit, I'll link to that video right down here. In the meantime, I hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next video.